willingness to help her neighbors. Though she lived alone, she was never lonely, as the villagers often visited her to seek her wisdom and share their stories. In return for her kindness, they brought her food and supplies, ensuring she never went hungry. One chilly autumn morning, Mary decided to venture into the forest to gather some wood for her fireplace. As she wandered deeper into the woods, she stumbled upon something unusual, a large, old pot partially buried in the ground. Curious, Mary brushed off the dirt and opened the pot. To her astonishment, it was filled with glittering gold coins. Mary's heart leapt with joy. She imagined a new life, filled with comfort and luxury. She saw herself living in a grand house, sitting by a beautiful fireplace on an elegant chair. But there was one problem. The pot was too heavy for her to carry alone. Determined, Mary fashioned a makeshift slide from wooden planks and tied a sturdy cloth around the pot. With great effort, she began to pull the pot towards her home. As she dragged the heavy pot along, she noticed something strange. The gold coins inside the pot started to change color. When she paused to catch her breath and looked inside, the gold had turned to silver. Mary felt a pang of disappointment, but quickly reminded herself that silver was still valuable. She continued her journey, reassuring herself that she could still buy a nice house and enjoy her evenings by the fireplace. However, as she pulled the pot further, the silver began to change again. This time, it turned into iron. Mary stopped and stared at the pot, feeling a deep sense of despair. All her dreams of a luxurious life seemed to vanish. But then she took a deep breath and smiled. She realized that she had been happy before finding the pot, living a simple life with the love and support of her neighbors. As she sat down to rest, Mary decided to be grateful for what she had rather than what she had lost. She thought about her cozy little home, the warm meals her neighbors brought her, and the joy she found in helping others. She knew that true happiness didn't come from wealth, but from the love and kindness shared with those around her. Mary left the pot in the forest and returned home, content with her life. That evening, as she sat by her fireplace on her old but comfortable chair, she felt a warmth in her heart that no amount of gold could ever bring. Mary continued to live her life as she always had, helping her neighbors and receiving their love in return. And so, Mary proved that true happiness comes from within, and she remained content and cheerful, no matter the circumstances. She had learned to be happy in every situation, and that made her richer than any pot of gold ever could. Let's learn some words from the story. Astonishment. Great surprise. Example. Her face lit up with astonishment when she saw the gold coins. Makeshift. A temporary or improvised solution. Example. She built a makeshift slide from wooden planks. Reassuring. Giving comfort or confidence. Example. She kept reassuring herself that silver was still valuable. Despair. Complete loss of hope. Example. She felt a deep sense of despair when the coins turned to iron. Content. In a state of peaceful happiness. Example. She was content with her simple life in the village. Serene, calm, peaceful, and untroubled. Example. The forest was serene with the sound of rustling leaves. Resourcefulness, ability to find quick and clever ways to overcome difficulties. Example. Happy in every situation. In a quaint little village, there lived an old lady named Mary. Mary was known for her kind heart and willingness to help her neighbors. Though she lived alone, she was never lonely, as the villagers often visited her to seek her wisdom and share their stories. In return for her kindness, they brought her food and supplies, ensuring she never went hungry. One chilly autumn morning, Mary decided to venture into the forest to gather some wood for her fireplace. As she wandered deeper into the woods, she stumbled upon something unusual, a large, old pot partially buried in the ground. Curious, Mary brushed off the dirt and opened the pot. To her astonishment, it was filled with glittering gold coins. Mary's heart leapt with joy. She imagined a new life, filled with comfort and luxury. She saw herself living in a grand house, sitting by a beautiful fireplace on an elegant chair. But there was one problem. The pot was too heavy for her to carry alone. Determined, Mary fashioned a makeshift slide from wooden planks and tied a sturdy cloth around the pot. With great effort, she began to pull the pot towards her home. As she dragged the heavy pot along, she noticed something strange. The gold coins inside the pot started to change color. When she paused to catch her breath and looked inside, the gold had turned to silver. Mary felt a pang of disappointment, but quickly reminded herself that silver was still valuable. She continued her journey, reassuring herself that she could still buy a nice house and enjoy her evenings by the fireplace. However, as she pulled the pot further, the silver began to change again. This time, it turned into iron. Mary stopped and stared at the pot, feeling a deep sense of despair. All her dreams of a luxurious life seemed to vanish. But then she took a deep breath and smiled. She realized that she had been happy before finding the pot, living a simple life with the love and support of her neighbors. As she sat down to rest, Mary decided to be grateful for what she had rather than what she had lost. She thought about her cozy little home, the warm meals her neighbors brought her, and the joy she found in helping others. She knew that true happiness didn't come from wealth, but from the love and kindness shared with those around her. Mary left the pot in the forest and returned home, content with her life. That evening, as she sat by her fireplace on her old but comfortable chair, she felt a warmth in her heart that no amount of gold could ever bring. Mary continued to live her life as she always had, helping her neighbors and receiving their love in return. And so, Mary proved that true happiness comes from within, and she remained content and cheerful, no matter the circumstances. She had learned to be happy in every situation, and that made her richer than any pot of gold ever could. Let's learn some words from the story. Astonishment. Great surprise. Example. Her face lit up with astonishment when she saw the gold coins. Makeshift.
Small village. He was very worried about his son. His son was lazy and careless. Once upon a time, there lived a man in a small village. He was very worried about his son. His son was lazy and careless. He never worked. He just wandered here and there in the village all day long. One day, the man decided to teach his son a lesson. He called his son to him. He said gently, "Son, there is a watch kept inside the cupboard. Bring it to me." The boy went and opened the cupboard. He took out the watch and came back to his father. The father looked at the watch and then said, "Now take this watch to the market. Ask everyone you meet how much they think it is worth." The boy nodded and went to the market with the watch. He showed the watch to different people. One man said it was worth 500 rupees. Another said 1,000. Someone else said 800. Everyone gave a different price. Some people even gave the same price, but no one agreed completely. The boy came back home and said, "Father, everyone told me a different price for the watch. Some said 500, some said 800, and some said 1,000. The man smiled and said, "All right, Put the watch back in the cupboard. The next day, the man called his son again. He asked him to bring the same watch. The boy brought it and gave it to his father. Then the father said, "Now go to the market again. This time, don't ask the price of the watch. Ask people the price of the time inside this watch." The boy was confused. He didn't understand what his father really meant. Still, he obeyed and went to the market again. He asked the people he met, "How much is the time inside this watch worth?" People looked at him strangely. Some laughed at him. Some told him to go away. Some said, "What a foolish question." The boy felt embarrassed and sad. Finally, he stopped at a small shop where an old man was working. The old shopkeeper was busy repairing watches. When the boy asked him the same question, the old man paused his work. He looked at the boy with a kind smile. He understood what the boy was trying to ask. He said softly, "Son, you cannot put a price on time. You can give millions of rupees, but you cannot buy back even 1 second of your life. That is why you must use your time wisely." The boy listened carefully. The old man continued, "Time has one bad thing and one good thing. The bad thing is it passes. The good thing is you can choose how to spend it. Everyone in this world has 24 hours in a day, the rich and the poor both. The difference is how they use those hours." The boy's eyes filled with understanding. Something changed inside him. He thanked the old man and went home quickly. He told his father everything that had happened in the market. The man smiled with pride and placed his hand on his son's shoulder. From that day on, the boy's life changed completely. He started working hard. He began using his time wisely. He stopped wasting his days wandering around. He understood the real value of every moment. Friends, time is free for everyone, but it is priceless. You cannot buy it, but you can use it. You cannot keep it, but you can spend it. Once it is gone, you can never get it back. So use your time wisely.
We nod our heads when someone tells us. We all say we understand the value of time. We nod our heads when someone tells us time is precious. But if we truly understood it, would we still waste hours scrolling through our phones, postponing important tasks, or telling ourselves, "I'll start tomorrow"? Here is the uncomfortable truth. Time is the only thing in life that once lost can never be earned back. You can lose money and make it again. You can lose a job and find another. But a single moment, once gone, is gone forever. And the saddest part, most of us don't realize this until it's too late. Today's story is about a father and his son. A father who watched his son waste day after day, and instead of giving another lecture, he handed him something unexpected: an old watch and a powerful question. A question so simple that no one in the market could answer it. But its meaning changed the boy's life forever. So stay with this story until the very end, because sometimes a single story heard at the right time can wake up something inside you that years of advice never could. In a small town, nestled between green fields and dusty roads, there lived a father and his son. The father was a hard-working man. He woke up before the sun, tended to his small shop, and came home tired but satisfied each evening. But his son was very different. The boy had no interest in work. He would wake up late, wander through the lanes with his friends, sat near tea stalls, watched others work, laughed with friends, and returned home only when hunger called him. He always says, there is still plenty of time, as if life would wait forever. At first, the father tried to advise him gently. Then he tried to warn him. Then he became silent. He understood something many parents learn with pain. Advice enters the ears, but wisdom enters only when the heart is ready. Days became weeks, and weeks became months. The father watched his son waste one morning after another. It troubled him deeply. He was not afraid that his son was poor. He was afraid that his son did not understand the value of what he was losing. One evening, as the sun faded and the warm light touched the walls of their house, the father stood before an old wooden cupboard in the corner of the room. He opened it carefully and took out a watch wrapped in a soft cloth. It was old, but it still worked. Its hands moved steadily, quietly, faithfully. The next morning, he called his son. The boy came lazily, rubbing his eyes. The father placed the watch in his hand and said, take this to the market. Ask people what price they would give for it. Go to many people, listen carefully, then come back and tell me. The boy looked surprised, but the task seemed easy enough. He slipped the watch into his pocket and walked toward the busy market road. The market was alive with noise. Vegetable sellers called out their prices. Shopkeepers arranged goods at their doors. Buses came and went, raising dust into the air. The boy took out the watch and showed it to different people. At the first shop, a cloth merchant looked at the watch, turned it over, and said, 500 rupees, not a rupee more. A little further, a grocery seller examined it and offered, maybe 800, it looks decent enough. Near the end of the lane, a man sitting behind a pile of steel utensils glanced at it and said, I would say 1,000, give or take. By afternoon, the boy returned home. The father asked, what did you learn? The boy replied, everyone said something different. One said 500, another said 1,000, another said 800. No one agreed. That was all. The boy expected an explanation, but none came. The next day, the father called him again and gave him the same watch. This time, he said, go to the market and ask people not the price of the watch, but the price of the time inside it. The boy stared at his father. The price of the time? What kind of question is that? Just go, the father said calmly. Ask and return. So the boy went. At the first shop, he asked the question. The merchant burst out laughing. The price of time? What nonsense! Are you trying to be funny? At the next shop, a woman waved him away. Go home, boy. Stop wasting people's time with silly questions. One man shook his head and said, you cannot put a price on time. Now leave me alone. The boy felt heat rising to his face. His steps became slower. For the first time in many months, he felt the sting of shame. He had never thought deeply about time before. Now he was walking through the same market, hearing laughter, carrying a question he did not understand. Everywhere the boy went, the answer was the same: laughter, confusion, or dismissal. He felt embarrassed. He felt foolish. He was ready to give up and go home. But just before he turned back, he noticed a tiny shop tucked into the corner of the market. A watch repair shop, old and quiet, with hundreds of tiny clocks sticking on the walls. Behind the counter sat an old man with silver hair and kind eyes, carefully fixing a broken timepiece with steady hands. The boy stepped inside and asked his question one last time. "Can you tell me, what is the price of the time inside this watch?" The old man stopped his work. He looked up slowly and studied the boy's face for a long moment, not with laughter, but with understanding. Then he said, "The watch can have a price. One person may say 500, another may say 1,000, but the time inside it, that has no price." Then he continued, "Son, you have asked the most important question anyone can ask. And the answer is this: there is no price for time. Not in rupees, not in gold, not in all the wealth of the world. You see, you can buy a watch, but you cannot buy the time it shows. If a rich man loses money, he can earn it again. If a farmer loses crops, he may grow them again. If a shop burns down, it may be rebuilt. But tell me, if 1 hour of your life passes, can anyone buy it back?" The boy shook his head slowly. "Not even 1 second," the old man said. "That is why time is the greatest treasure. It is free, yet it is priceless." The shop was quiet, except for the soft ticking of many clocks. Time has one bad thing and one good thing. The bad thing is that it never stops. It keeps moving, whether you are ready or not. It does not wait for anyone. The good thing is that you still choose what to do with it. Every person, rich or poor, young or old, receives the same amount of it each day. 24 hours, no more, no less. The difference between a person who succeeds and a person who fails is not talent or luck. It is how they choose to spend those hours. One uses time to build a future, while another throws it away. Each word fell into the boy's heart like rain on dry soil. The boy stood still. Something deep inside him stirred, something that no scolding or lecture had ever reached. The old man's words did not just enter his ears, they entered his heart. His eyes lowered. "I understand now," he whispered. The old man handed the watch back to him and said, "Then do not just understand. Change." He rushed home. He told his father everything the old man had said, word for word, with fire in his eyes that the father had never seen before. When the boy finished, the father placed his hand gently on his shoulder. No long speech was needed. The lesson had reached where words alone could not go. From that day, the boy began to change. He woke earlier. He helped at home. He learned to work with care. He spent less time roaming and more time doing something useful. At first, the change was small, but day by day, it became stronger. He discovered that disciplined hours gave peace, and honest effort gave pride. Slowly, his life began to take shape. The town remained the same.
Once there was a boy named Arian. He was 17 years old. He lived in a dry village. The village had no trees. The land was all brown and empty. The sun was always very hot. Water was very less. People struggled every day. Arian's father sold vegetables in the market, but vegetables did not grow well. The soil was too dry. His mother worked at home. She tried to save every drop of water. Life was very hard for everyone. Arian had a dream. He wanted to make his village green again, but people laughed at his dream. They said it is impossible. This land is cursed. Nothing grows here anymore. Even Arian's own friends made fun of him. You are wasting your time, Arian. But Arian did not give up. He believed in his heart. One day, Arian was sitting alone. He felt very sad and tired. Why does nobody believe in me? Why is everything so hard? His mother saw him sitting quietly. She came and sat beside him. My son, why do you look so sad? Arian said, Mother, I want to plant trees. I want to make our village beautiful, but nobody supports me. Everyone laughs at me. His mother held his hand gently. My child, great things always start small. Do not wait for others to believe. You believe first, then others will follow. Her words gave Arian new hope. He decided to start his work, even if he was alone, even if nobody helped him. The next morning, Arian woke up very early. He took a small bag. He walked to the edge of the village. There was a small piece of empty land. Nobody used that land. Arian sat down on the dry soil. He dug a small hole with his hands. Then he planted his first seed. It was a neem tree seed. He poured a little water on it. He covered it with soil carefully. He stood up and looked at the ground. One seed, just one small seed, but it was a beginning. Arian smiled. He felt something change inside him. This is my first step. Tomorrow I will plant more. Every morning Arian went to that place. He planted one seed every day. Sometimes he planted 2 seeds. He used his pocket money to buy seeds. He collected rainwater in old bottles. He watered his seeds carefully. Days passed, weeks passed, but nothing grew. The ground stayed brown and empty. Arian felt worried. Maybe people were right. Maybe nothing will grow here. But he did not stop. He remembered his mother's words. Great things start small. So he kept planting. He kept watering. He kept hoping. 1 month later, something happened. Arian went to his planting spot. He saw a tiny green leaf. It was coming out from the soil. His heart jumped with joy. He could not believe his eyes. A plant. A real plant. He ran home fast. Mother, father, come see, come see. His parents followed him quickly. They reached the spot. They saw the small green leaf. His mother's eyes filled with happy tears. You did it, my son. You really did it. His father patted his back. I am proud of you. Arian, that small leaf changed everything. News spread in the village. People came to see the small plant. Some people were surprised. Some people were still doubtful. One old man said one plant means nothing. Let us see if it survives. But a few children got excited. They asked Arian, can we help you? Arian's face lit up. Yes, please help me. We will plant together. From that day, 5 children joined Arian. They became his planting team. Every morning they met. They planted seeds together. They watered the plants together. They sang songs while working.
Never give up. Yeah, this is very strong word. Everyone must have your favorite word. please write down your favorite word in chat. Chat, write down. Chat.
A pot of soup with whatever. There once lived an old lady at the edge of a mountain village. Her house was small, made of stone and dreams. She had no children, no riches, no grand legacy. But she had something rare, peace. Every day, she'd light a little fire in her fireplace, stir a pot of soup with whatever the garden gave her, and hum songs that no one else remembered. The villagers often came to her when they were sad, because somehow she always smiled, even when she had nothing. One day, a strange traveler came to her door. He said, "You've lived a good life, so I'll give you a choice. 3 doors. Behind one is your deepest desire. Behind the others, disappointment." The old lady smiled and said, "I'm too old to chase dreams." But the traveler insisted. He led her to a quiet meadow where 3 doors stood. One golden, one wooden, one rusted. She paused, and then walked toward the rusted door. "Why this one?" the traveler asked. She smiled. "The most beautiful things in life have always come in old, worn packages." She opened the door, and inside was nothing. Just dust. Just silence. The traveler looked at her, expecting sadness. But she laughed gently and said, "I came here with nothing, and I still have my smile, so I didn't lose anything at all." The traveler opened the other 2 doors. One had gold. The other had a mirror showing her young and wealthy. He said, "You could have had so much more." The old lady looked at him and said, "More than what? More than peace? More than knowing how to smile in the dark? More than the joy of a warm soup and a quiet heart? No, I think I already chose the right door." And with that, she turned back toward her little home, where the fire still waited, where the soup still bubbled, and where her smile was more precious than gold. Sometimes, happiness isn't behind the golden door. It's in the choice to smile, even when the door is empty. Try to be happy in every situation. Say okay. In life, many people believe that saying yes to everything will make them appreciated. They try to be available for everyone, helping with every small task, answering every request, and never refusing anyone. At first, this may bring praise, but over time something subtle happens. People begin to take that availability for granted. The difference between being available and being valuable often determines whether people see you as ordinary or indispensable. In a dense forest near a winding river, there lived a young fox named Ryven. Ryven was known for one thing: he was always available. If the squirrels needed help gathering acorns, they called Ryven. If the rabbits wanted someone to watch their burrows, they called Ryven. If the parrots wanted someone to carry messages across the forest, they called Ryven. And Ryven always said yes. At first, the animals praised him. Ryven is the most helpful fox in the forest, they would say. But slowly something strange began to happen. The squirrels stopped thanking him. The rabbits started ordering him around. The parrots no longer asked. They simply expected. Ryven ran from sunrise to sunset doing small tasks for everyone, yet no one truly respected him. When the animals gathered to discuss important matters, like where to find new food or how to prepare for winter, they invited the old owl, the beaver engineer, and the eagle scout. Ryven was never invited. One evening, exhausted and confused, Ryven sat beneath a large oak tree where the old owl Seraph lived. "Why does everyone call me for chores?" Ryven asked. "But no one calls me when something important happens." The owl blinked slowly and replied, "Because you are always available, but you have not yet become valuable." Ryven frowned. "What does that mean?" The owl spread his wings slightly. "Look at the beaver. He is not everywhere in the forest. But when a river floods, everyone seeks him because he knows how to build dams. Look at the eagle. She does not deliver every message. But when the forest needs to see far beyond the mountains, only she can help." Then the owl leaned closer. "When something is always available, it becomes ordinary. When something is rare and useful, it becomes valuable." That night, Ryven thought deeply. The next morning, things changed. Ryven spent his time studying the forest paths, the hidden streams, and the safest routes through the thick woods. Day after day, he explored and learned. Weeks passed. Then one harsh winter storm arrived. Snow covered the forest trails, and many animals became lost searching for food. The animals panicked. "Who knows the forest paths?" they cried. The owl simply looked toward Ryven. Now the fox stepped forward calmly. "I do." Using the secret routes he had studied, Ryven guided the animals to hidden berry patches and sheltered valleys. He saved the rabbits from frozen fields and led the squirrels to safe trees untouched by snow. The forest survived the winter because of him. After that day, the animals no longer called Ryven for every small task. They called him when they truly needed him. And whenever a young animal asked the owl the secret of respect, the owl would say, "Do not try to be everywhere for everyone. Instead, become someone whose presence matters." Leaves are always available, but the tree that gives shelter is truly valuable.